Hi, everybody. In tonight's webinar, I'm going to go through just a little bit of feedback on week one of the Action Research Project that my colleague Angie and I are collaborating on. So, week one, and already we've had a real reality check as far as, life in schools. And so I'm sure that many of you will be able to relate to this, the limited time, the interruptions, and the like. So, Angie, just to recap, we are doing an action research project looking at extensive reading using CI as the foundation for some independent reading. And we will be using lots of rich, comprehensible input and also implementing some whole character reading strategies. So this is week one. We have tweaked things already so that we are going to be focusing on years 2, 3, and 4. We kind of thought we'd bitten off a bit more than we could chew with the grade 5s as well. So we are just going to really focus in on those 3-year levels. So Angie started her pre-testing yesterday, Monday, and she had 2 year 2 classes and 1 year 4 class. And I will show you the assessment that we did and their initial results. Today's classes were impacted because of a whole school sports day. So while it was disappointing that we didn't have that flow on, it really did drill home for Angie and I just, how realistic this is. It shows the stop and start of the school activities, and this is really important, we think, because it really does highlight the reality of the limited time of instruction that we have as teachers. And for language teachers, this is just so important. It also helps us to test the feasibility of implementing a CI-focused curriculum. And also it shows us what is therefore possible using CI, even with the disruptions of, school life. So with that in mind, I thought we'd give you an overview of week one and what Angie has implemented so far in those 3 classes yesterday, and she'll continue on with the other classes for the remainder of the week. So our pre-test, I'll show you the pre-test. So because year 2 is focusing on Boris, which is the first of the Japanese reads graded readers, the language in there is quite limited and limited to the Super 7 verbs of des and janai, as well as some other animal words and some conjunctions and colours. So we started by getting a baseline of what the students knew, and the testing that we did was we wanted to keep it visual so that it wasn't going to students that had low English skills were not going to be impacted with any a lot of English. So this is what the students saw. This was the demo I will show you this in Plickers if you're interested later in the webinar, and give you a bit of an overview of the Plickers format, which I think will be really, really useful for us. So this was what the students saw. If you're not familiar with Plickers, Plickers is an online low-tech tool that allows the teacher to assess in real time. So basically, each student has their own Plicker card and it's unique to them. And there's A, B, C, and D on the card. So the students merely have to rotate to show what number, what letter the answer is that they think the answer is. So it's almost like a QR code. And so by rotating the card, the teacher then can scan using the phone and record the students' results. So once it's set up, we found out that it was a little bit clunky, not clunky, a few little tweaks we had to learn as we were going. But once it is set up, it really is, yeah, it's a brilliant tool. So definitely worth a little bit of effort to set up. So this was what the students saw. I provided Angie with a teacher script. So she read out the script, and so she said, this is to see what Japanese you know. There will be things you don't know, and that's okay. We will do the same quiz at the end of the term. Your Plicker has 3 sides that we're going to use, A, B, and C, and you'll see 3 pictures. Listen to Sensei say something in Japanese and hold up the letter that matches. We will do the first one together. So then Angie read out, Panda janai desu. And the students then responded with their Plicker cards, A, B, or C. And then Angie scanned it, and we have very quickly gathered understanding of their recognition of that language. So that was the demo. Moving on to question 1. Listen to Sensei and circle what you hear, or show what you see, what you hear. And inu desu. So again, we're focusing on mainly the desu and for ears. So the students will then show that. Another one, listen to Sensei and show what you hear. Hi. So this is the script, and this is an example. These are some more of the examples using the language from Boris as our baseline. So that was the pre-test for year 2s. This question 15 is different from the others. This is to tell us how you feel when you look at some Japanese writing. Tell us how you feel. You only have choices A, B, and C. So A is, this sentence is easy. I understood it. This sentence was a little hard, but I'm kind of understood, but I'm still guessing. And this sentence was really hard. I didn't understand. I don't feel good about it at all. And this one's obviously not graded, but we did want to gauge how the students are feeling as far as their feelings towards reading in script. Is it something that they are overwhelmed with? Does the little bit of English in Boris help? We wanted to open up a little bit of a discussion about that. And also then at the end of this project at the end of the term, we want to then be able to ask the students, has this changed? Are you feeling more comfortable seeing more Japanese? Is there students' tolerance for a lot of unknown foreign script? Has that improved? So I think that's a really important part of this action research project. So from here, I wanted to show you just the plickers that we use. So this is, if we go to the library, you can see here that we have the 3 year levels and they have their pre-test. They're all very, very similar, just using different vocab. So the format's very much the same, but just the different content. So I'm going to stick with year 2 here. And as you can see, this is what I've shown you here, the script and, the questions for the students. And Angie goes through those. And then, then we had a look at the reports. So we've had 3 year levels, 3 classes so far complete these pre-tests. So we've got year 2 and 2 year 4s that have. So if you have a look at the year 2, you can see here a quick snapshot of how the students have gone and the percentage of the class who answered correctly. So this one here, you can see the students that got those correct, how many from the class, and the ones that were incorrect, as well as other useful information for us with this project, the people that were missing. Also, we wanted to, as much as possible, track the different leveled students. So we've also looked at students with the ILPs and individual learning plans and with different needs, and we'll be tracking 2 from each year level. So 2, interestingly enough, in one of these year 2 classes, there are 2 half Japanese students also. So we've got that high end. We're going to look at 2 or 3 of the middle for each class, and also those that are on the ILPs, just to see if using CI does have, what kind of impact it does have on those students that have extra learning needs. So from here, our next week, we will be, for the year 2s, we will be really focusing on Des and Janai and really trying to use that in lots and lots of different and interesting situations in lots of different ways. So this is Ruby, Angie's dog. So she'll do a picture talk using this to talk about Ruby, and we've got the word wall here that will help to scaffold the discussion, the dialogue in the classroom. my viewpoint on using Romaji for the oral input stage is that it allows the students to interact in a much more accessible way than if they had to decode if the for example des was in hiragana. Not only have they got to try and decode des, they've got to try and work out what it is and match it to the English meaning. And by the time they've done all that, the conversation's moved on. So it's doing this using Romaji in this way in the input stage really allows an increase in student engagement because they can carry on with the conversation, they can follow the conversation, and they haven't got that extra barrier. They don't have that cognitive overload of trying to decode before they can join in. Really, I think the difference that I've seen with CI, using CI, is that it is a really inclusive way to teach a language because the students, when we're using the scaffold like a word wall like this, it just allows so much more all students to really follow along and get involved. So that's why one of the reasons why I love CI so much. So depending on the time, and we will judge this, I think we probably overplanned in some ways. We may have to just pull back a little bit, but another picture talk that recycles a lot of the same vocab would be talking about Bluey. So again, using similar language but with a different topic, different character, we can talk about Bluey wa nani iro desu ka? And Bluey wa kuro desu ka? So even with limited language, there are lots and lots of different ways that you can talk about this picture. And the other thing that I have become more aware of is the number of times that a student needs to hear the language that you want them to acquire. It's so much more than what I had thought. So even though it may seem like it's very, very repetitive, it's necessary. The repetition is really necessary, but it means that we have to try and make the reps different or slightly changed so it doesn't seem like we are repeating the same language over and over. We're still talking about something different, but using language that they know. So to keep it interesting, we can use dakara or soretomo or demo or donna, and keeping it very, very limited to the limited language, but talking about quite a bit. That's why the Super 7 are such a fabulous bunch of verbs. From there, we will do a little movie talk with this clip here. I have shown this before, but this is, might not take me to it. That's a little short movie talk with a cat and a bird. Again, recycling lots of the language, particularly the colours that will be focused on in Boris, which is shiro, kuro, and shirokuro. another little movie talk here is using this little clip about a whale. Now, kujira is a word that isn't a high frequency word, but it is necessary for the students to be able to read the book Boris. So incorporating it in a little cute way here that we can talk about it, genuinely talk about it using a genuine purpose here. We're talking about it, so we're using kujira. Kujira desu ka? Kujira janai desu ka? Kujira wa nani iro desu ka? Kuro desu ka? Shirokuro desu ka? Oki desu ka? Chisai desu ka? Doko desu ka? Kujira wa doko desu ka? Lots and lots of different ways for the students to hear, to get that repetition of kujira. Angie and I have also talked about the purpose of keeping our brain breaks limited for the purpose of this project to perhaps 2 or 3. And the reason we've decided to do that, we will recycle these ones for this length of time, is that we want the students to really become comfortable with using the language in the brain break. We don't want it to be another thing that they have to master. So we're trying to just really keep it streamlined, enjoyable and fun, and accessible to all. So I think that is it for our week 1 recap. If you've got any questions or any comments at all about the project, about Plickers, any of the SCI strategies like movie talk or picture talk, if you're curious about those things, I'd be very happy to share more about that, tailoring to what interests you and what needs that you have. So please reach out. And I look forward to updating you next week. Okay. Mata ganbarimashou.